you have been a public speaker and you have been working in the field of spoken English. Were you also nervous in your first interview? So if they ask you, why should we hire you? So what would you say? And the last question, when they asked, what is your salary expectation? Now people think if we quote a very high amount, then they may reject us. And if I quote very less.
Hi, Meenu.
Hi, Anushri. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm also doing great. Can you please give a brief introduction?
Yeah. So I'm Anushri. I live in Bangalore. I run a edtech company called Sparky. Sparky is an online app for spoken English fluency. Before building Sparky, we also built another edtech company called Spark Studio, which used to do online classes for kids. And before that, in my career, I have 13 years of work experience. I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and before that, I was a computer science engineer.
That's great. So you have been a public speaker and you have been working in the field of spoken English, as well as you must have given a very difficult interview to clear IIM, because many people are afraid of that interview, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you share some interview tips? Our viewers would like to know how you cleared all these interviews.
Yes.
You have worked at very big companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We would definitely like to know your views, how to crack an interview. But first of all, I would like to know, were you also nervous in your first interview?
Yeah, I think my first interview that I can remember was when I just was finishing my engineering, and that was sort of the first job I was applying for. Even I was nervous, and I think this is the first experience, right? So you don't know what happens in an interview, and you don't know the person who's interviewing you. So I think I was also nervous, but I generally find that once you get into it, the nervousness goes. The nervousness is only before it.
Right.
Once you start talking to somebody, you sort of fall into the flow. But in the 1 hour before it, 2 hours before it, you feel more nervous.
So you were quite anxious.
Yes.
So I think my viewers will be able to relate to you, because it's okay to be nervous in the first few interviews, and they can, overcome this nervousness in future.
Yes.
So what is your tip number 1 for cracking the interview?
Yeah. So I think tip number 1 is think about your interview and practice, right? So it depends on, what you're doing, which role you're applying for, which company you're applying for, or which, education institute you're applying for. Think about, there are some common questions and there are some, things that you should be clear about. For example, you should be clear about why you want to do this. So if you want to do an MBA, why do you want to do an MBA? Or if you want to take up a job or to say marketing role in some company, why do you want to do marketing, right? These are questions that come very often. There are questions of, introduce yourself, where you talk about, and it may not come in the same way, introduce yourself. People can ask that same question in, many ways, but basically it's that thing of where you help the other person understand what you are, who you are, what your past has been, things like that, right? So you should be talking about your previous work that relates to this, or what drives your interest in doing this, etc. Right? So I think those are common questions which thinking will give you some sort of clarity about what you want to say, but then also practice saying some of those things, at least the predictable questions that you have.
And they should research about the company also before they go for the interview.
Yes, I think you should at least research enough to be able to answer that. Why is this interesting to you, right? Like if you don't know anything about the company, then the person who's interviewing you feels like your interest level is very low. And if your interest level is very low, then why should I, hire you for this role? Then the other people who are more interested, have been following this industry, or, feel more passionate about this, they'll be better for the job.
And the interviewer will think that you are okay to work in any company.
Which basically means that you don't have a sort of clear thought process on what you would like to do, or, a skill set of, where this is useful, etc. There are many ways to practice. One is, find a friend. Try to do this with them. If you want to write out your answers, you can do that. Sparky, our app, also sort of has the features to enable you to practice these interviews. So it's a voice first AI app where basically it talks to you. So it mimics a conversation like you would have with a human. You can have a conversation with Sparky.
And it can help people, practice interview.
Yes. So the way it works is that it adapts to what you are saying. It has practice formats of interview preparation where it asks you questions that are, commonly asked in these interviews. And it, depending on whatever interview you can say that I want to do marketing, I want to do a sales role, I want to do I'm a developer, I want to get a coding role, or I'm a teacher. Whatever you say, it'll ask you the relevant questions for that kind of job. So it's a great way to practice. It gives you feedback also.
Yeah, so if they don't have a friend, they can practice with Sparky and practice interview before they actually appear for the interview. So that will really help.
Yes.
So can you show us how
Yeah.
it helps them practice for interviews?
Yeah, let's see a demo video and that will explain.
Yeah.
Guidance, or if you have any questions related to interview or any job role, click on the hamburger menu, which is at the top left corner of your mobile phone. Click on it, look for career help, and start the conversation.
Hi, Rima. I am your interview prep buddy. What kind of job are you aiming for?
Hi Sparky, I'm looking for a software development job. I actually have an interview tomorrow and I don't know how to introduce myself. Can you help me?
That's great, Rima. For introducing yourself in a software development interview, start with your name and mention your passion for coding. Would you like me to help you practice?
Yes, please. That will be really helpful. Can you give me an example by telling me exactly how you would introduce if you were at my place?
Sure, Rima. If I were in your place, I would say, "Hi, my name is your name. I am passionate about software development and have experience and relevant skills. I'm excited to be here for the interview. Now it's your turn. Practice introducing yourself using this example. Remember to be confident."
Sure, let me try. Hi, I'm Rima. I am a software developer and I have experience in developing softwares for Android app, and I have skill in I can do coding in Python and Java, and I'm really excited to be here for the interview.
Great job, Rima. Just a few corrections. Hi, I'm Rima. I am a software developer with experience in developing Android apps. I have coding skills in Python and Java. I'm really excited to be here for the interview. You're doing amazing.
If you need any career
I loved it how Sparky can help them practice all these questions. It can help them and they can use it at any time. And the price is also very affordable.
So there are different plans that we have. We have a 1 month plan, 3 month plan, and 6 month plan. It's usually like if you take the higher plans, there are lots of discounts we have. We have 20, 30, 40% discounts going on sometimes. So if you get a discount, it's going to be about less than 100 rupees a month. So take a longer 3 month or a 6 month plan so you have enough time to practice. It's about 100 rupees a month in those plans. So it's very, very affordable. It's endless amounts of practice, and you can try answering the question in different ways. So you can do the same practice again, multiple times, try answering the question in a different way, etc. And it gives you different types of feedback. It will give you feedback on your language. Sometimes it will also give you good feedback on how to structure your answer. One of the things that I think, people who are nervous or people who are not good at English or the language, what they do is they don't structure the answer. They say lots of things. It's going all over the place, and you lose the interviewer, right? You lose their attention. They don't understand everything. Think a little bit. It's okay to take 1 or 2 seconds of a pause. Think a little bit. Put your thoughts in order, and then speak. Right? The structure is also important.
So I would highly recommend all of you to download this app. You will find the link in the description and you can, download it from there. Then I would suggest you to take the 6 months subscription because that will be very cheap. That will just be 100 rupees a month.
Yeah. It is actually less than that. If you get a discount, it's less than 100 rupees a month.
That's super affordable. I would like to ask you a question. When the interviewer asks, tell me about yourself, what are they actually looking for? Because they already have the details in the resume. They are not asking for your, address and your family. They are not asking for that. So what are they actually looking for?
Yeah, I think they're mostly looking for what your skill set is or what your interest is in and how you see yourself, right? So don't narrate facts, right? There's no point in saying I'm 27-year-old, I'm from Haryana, and my name is this. They know that, right? So what you should be talking about is a slightly zoomed out version. Like if I were to talk about who I am, I'll say I'm Anushri, I run a company called Spark Studios. So now that is the fact. And then you talk about a broader base of things where you're like, I'm a business person. I've done my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. I've worked for 14 years. Most of my work has revolved around A, B, C, D. These are my skill sets. I am very excited or I'm very passionate about something, right? So there is a little bit of fact in it, but it's a story about who you are, right? It's not just a bullet points of fact.
Right. And when they ask them, why do you want to work in our company? What should they say?
I think it's not something that is the same answer for everybody or same answer for every company, right? I think the best way is to be honest about it. Ideally, you should be applying for places that you want to work at. Now, you might want to. I worked at Swiggy. My answer for this kind of a thing is, why do you want to work at Swiggy? Was that Swiggy is growing so fast. It is such a high caliber company. So it is a place of excellence, and the company I was at before that was a smaller company. So I was like, I want to learn from people who are much better than me and upskill myself, right? I want to learn how cutting edge work is done. In my previous company, I was probably, the smartest person, and I was teaching everybody in my team. I was, fairly senior, but then I wanted to move to something where I could also learn from people. And I thought, consumer tech is very interesting for me. Why is consumer tech interesting? XYZ. Right? For people, the answers will be different, but the good answers are the true answers. But if you are applying, there are many times where you're applying for many companies, you may not be very interested in them, or at least spend 10 minutes to understand what they do. And try to find, even if it's not like I'm deeply passionate, like if you say something as stupid as I'm deeply passionate about, refrigerator sales, then people are like, okay, it sounds false, right? So it doesn't have to be that. You can anchor around, if you're applying for sales, then you say, I think I'll be good at sales because I enjoy talking to people, I'm good at convincing people, and I enjoy that kind of profile. Or if you're applying for analytics, then you say, I enjoy doing, analytical work. I'm good at math. I see myself as, wanting to build a career in this, right? So it's okay. You don't have to say, I love your company. You have to find some thread of interest.
Okay, sometimes people are only looking for a pay raise. Let's say they are working in a company, they just want a pay raise and they are satisfied with their current company. Now the other company asks them, why do you want to leave that job? They should now tell the truth or not?
It depends. Sometimes you can tell the truth. Sometimes you can say, I think my value or the skill set of, what the value of the skill set I bring is more than I'm getting there. And I'm looking for a role that sort of rewards me better for what I bring to the table and gives me future career growth. Right? It's not just that you want this particular raise. When you're moving from one company to another, you're also thinking about the next 3, 4, 5 years of your career. And you should sort of put it in that view, that what future growth can I see in my current company versus in this new company, how I see my growth prospects being better, right? So it's okay. People understand. The interviewers are also human. They have also gone through careers and similar things, right? It's not like they're not God. Yeah. So it's okay. It's okay to be honest. It builds trust. But you should also not come across as someone who's very shallow. You have to have a good reason. You should come across as a logical person who's, has good thoughts about how they want their career to pan out.
So interviewer says that what are your strengths and weaknesses? Now this is a tricky question. They can't tell all their weaknesses here. They should tell their weaknesses also in a way that is not bad for their interview.
Yeah, no, so I think this is a strength. I think everyone finds strengths question easy, right? Weakness question is the one people get stuck. But it's a common joke amongst like people who are a little more senior and have seen and done this, right? People are like, oh, your weakness is that you're too perfect. I mean, there are people who say things like that. I am a perfectionist. That's my weakness, or stuff like that. I think it doesn't land well. If you try to say a strength as a weakness, the interviewer just thinks that you're an immature person. It's okay to talk about a weakness. Obviously, it can't be a critical weakness which makes you unfit for this job.
Correct.
Right? But it's okay. Being able to talk about your weakness shows self-awareness and shows that you understand what you have to do better at. Maybe pick up a weakness which is not absolutely critical to the role, right? Or it is something that you develop over time. Like, for example, I would, there's somebody in my company, I should tell him he's a superstar, person at the job he was doing. But I think his weakness was not being great at managing people. Like he could do his job well, but if you had junior people under him, that was not his best, strongest suit. And you say something like that, I know that I'm not great at that, but I haven't had enough opportunity to build that, and I'm looking for the opportunity to be able to develop that skill. Right. So it is like you're sensible, you understand. And you're also talking about how you want to actually bridge that gap.
Okay, so if they ask you, why should we hire you? So what would you say?
I think it has to come from what your skill sets are or what your past experience is, or you have to convince them that I like this and I want to do this so much that I'm going to be great at it. I think for people who are freshers, this becomes a difficult question, right? For people who have experience, then you have enough of a story to build. I've done this before, I've done that before, etc. For freshers, they don't have that much, and they feel like their whole class is also like them. They've all studied the same thing. So the company asking, why should I hire you? Then like, how do I set myself apart from my colleague or my classmate? It becomes harder. I think it's a stupid question for companies to ask. They should ideally not be asking this to freshers. But if this is asked to you, you should talk about either some particular skill set, which could be like, I really enjoy marketing. I've done so many things. I participate in these marketing conferences. I think my interest in that is very high, and which is why I will learn well. So you're not saying I've done so much and I'm an expert, but you peg it on your interest. Or you sort of maybe you have some grades or something that you talk about. But I think don't stress too much about this question. For early in your career, it's not a good question.
Right.
There's not too much you can say other than actual true things that make you good fit for that role.
Right. So many times they ask that, there are 10 people, there are 10 candidates. What is it that, you bring to the table and they don't? I mean, something unique about you.
Yeah. So I think this could be very wide depending on who you are. Sometimes, and I don't know if that's me, like when I interview people, but a lot of people say this, that if you have a spike in some one particular thing, right? Like you're good at everything, but there's something that you're extremely special at, right? And that could be anything. It could be that you're a great football player. You played for the nationals, or you could be, I am so enthusiastic about chess that, I do this, right? Sometimes like those are the things that make people unique. And essentially sometimes what that shows is that how deeply you pursue something, or your pursuit for excellence or something like that, right? It tells you something about that person which is not on the resume, etc. But everyone can sort of read this question very differently. If you tell someone, why should I hire you? And then you're like, I'm a great football player. Then they might say that, but we're not hiring you to play football here. Right? So right. It's better to stick to your skill set and interest. But if they say, tell me something unique about you, then you can talk about all of these things, which also makes a good conversation. Sometimes people want to connect with you as a human who's going to work with them in their team, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, if you tell me, I'm a great cook and I make this and that, and I went here to learn something, then I was like, oh, interesting. Meenu has all these eclectic interests, and as a person, I feel like, oh, I would like to talk to Meenu. I would like to hang out with Meenu at lunch every day.
So I think while answering these questions, it's not just what you say. I think you should maintain eye contact and your body language should show confidence. You should speak confidently. That is also important. It's not just the words.
Yeah, so definitely, I think body language is a big part where eye contact is important. Confidence is important, but I think confidence is a outcome of many things. You can't just, today work on yourself. By evening, I have to improve my confidence, right? That's not going to happen.
Yes.
How does confidence come?
Gain confidence.
Yeah, no. So confidence either comes from knowledge and or clarity, where I know what to say, I know what to think, I know why I like this company, etc. Right? Or it comes from skill sets. I'm applying for an analytics role. I have done analytics courses, or I know that I'm good at it, etc. Right? So it comes from ability. It comes from clarity of what you're saying. And I think the third thing, which I think in Indian context is very important, is people who are not used to talking in English, they give interviews in English. Many times they're giving interviews in English. And then they become nervous. Yeah, they lose confidence because they're good at what they do. Their knowledge is good. The skill set is good. They might be great for the job. But because that speaking in English is such a uncomfortable exercise for them, that they lose confidence. So I would say, being comfortable, if you're giving your interview in Hindi and you're confident in Hindi, that's fine. But if you're giving your interview in English and you're not comfortable with English, please work on your language so that you're not stuck there. You're not stuck at the language. You can get stuck with the relevant things for the job, but why should you be stuck with language? So I think that's important. And it's important to keep in mind that you don't have to speak some, very complicated language. You don't have to speak big words. You can speak simple words, but clarity of communication is important. So if I'm saying something, it has to reach the other person, right? If half of what I said is lost in the middle, then I'm very intelligent, but the other person doesn't understand I'm intelligent because it got lost in the middle. Yeah. So work on clarity of communication, work on comfort and confidence with whatever your language of communication is. And I think then you feel more confident and you're your best self in your interview.
So if they are not comfortable and if they are fumbling, they will not be able to express themselves. So I think in that case, it's better to stick to their mother tongue and they give the interview in mother tongue, and then they can say that, yes, I'm working on my English communication. That would be a better strategy than just giving the whole interview in English.
Yes, but it also depends on your interviewer. You should ask. Correct. Suppose you feel like you're not able to speak in English or whatever, you're struggling. You can ask them, can I answer your question in Hindi? Or with regional languages, Hindi and English are a little more widely spoken. But if you say, can I answer in Marathi or can I answer in Tamil or something like that, then it's not necessary that your interviewer also knows that language.
Correct.
Right. Sometimes it may be that the interviewer doesn't speak that language, then you're stuck.
Right. Okay. Sometimes they ask, do you have any questions for us? So most of them say no. What do you think they should say?
Yeah, I think these questions typically come from your research of the company, right? So if you're joining some company, some department, you might ask about their future plans. What is the strategy? How do you think? Will you get into this? Or you might have a question about why they are doing this. Or say you might have a question about, I'm just randomly thinking, right? Like if I were to interview with Swiggy today, maybe I would ask them about how they're doing against Zomato. What are the things that Zomato does better than them? What are the things that Swiggy does better than them? Basically, I think it shows two things. Your answer to this question shows two things. One is either your level of interest. So you know something about this industry, you know something about this company. At least you're trying to make sense and understand this business, right? So it shows your level of interest in the company, or it shows your clarity on what you want. Suppose if I want something and I'm like, listen, I'm looking for this type of a role. This is the way I see my career. And I'm also assessing the company. What is important, which people don't realize in an interview, and in junior levels, it is hard. But as you become more senior, what you need to realize is interviewer is not only assessing you, you are also assessing the company, right? You're also deciding, is this right for me? They're deciding, are you right for them? Keep it in mind that you're also deciding, are they right for you? So there are lots of things. There are people who ask about policies, like, do you have a work from home policy? Do you allow remote work? or do you, what kind of maternity leave do you support? Or there could be many things. There could be things which impact your life. It could be things that impact your career. That, how do you see this? Will I get an opportunity to work internationally, or will I have to travel for my work? Any of these things are questions you can ask, either about the company and their business, or about how this impacts your life. Both show, clarity and maturity.
And the last question, when they asked, what is your salary expectation? Now people think, most of the candidates, they think that if we quote a very high amount, then they may reject us. And if I quote very less, then it would not be good for me.
Yeah. I think there are two ways to do it. One is that you are saying, this is my current salary and I'm expecting X% hike. Like I would expect a 20 to 25% hike. If you think maybe that, 15% is what you could get, you may want to start by saying 20%, right? Basically, it's anchoring the person who's talking to you, anchor them at a higher number. So the negotiation starts from there, right? These are negotiation skills, right? You can do that starting from your current salary plus increment, right? The other way people do it is benchmarking. That, I know that this type of a job, I know a friend who does this type of a job in this type of company, this is how much they get paid. And my current salary might be half of that. But I know the value of this role, and I essentially don't peg it to my current salary, and I just say, I think this is the right amount that I should get paid. But I mean, it has to come from some benchmark. If you say something really obnoxiously high, then the interviewer might, or the company's budget will not allow it, and they'll be like, no, her expectations are too high.
In case he is a fresher, then?
I think for freshers, many of these things are hard because sometimes they don't even know benchmarks. They don't have any friends who are working in any companies, and usually companies do not ask freshers what is your expectation.
Okay.
That's my understanding, right? Companies have a sense of what they are willing to pay for this. They will typically, tell that this is what we are paying for this role. If you are a fresher and someone asks you what is your salary expectation, you could also say that, I'm new to the workforce. I don't have a basis. I would love to hear from you what you think this, remuneration for this role will be. What is the pay scale for this role? And you can tell them that I'll think about it. You can tell me what it is from your side. Let me also consult a few people and I'll think about it. Basically, when you say I'll also consult and I'll think about it, you're keeping some power in your hands, right? Where you're saying you can't give me just any little amount and I'll just take it. I'm not so desperate. I will find out if this is right. You can deal with it like that.
So that's great. Thanks for all these tips for our viewers. So thank you, Anushri, for joining us today. It was such a helpful session for all my viewers. And it was a lovely session. Yeah.
Wishing all your viewers best of luck for all the interviews.
Yeah. Hope you crack the next interview. Okay then.
All right.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.